What is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade. Basketball analysis coming to y'all with that analysis on the weekend. We're going to talk about the 3 and 4 Brooklyn Nets today, and we're going to talk about the dynamic duo of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. A lot of people hyped this team up the beginning weeks in after preseason as the team that should be the favorite to come out of the Eastern Conference to face possibly the Lakers, Clippers, or etc., depending on what happens as the season go on. I was a person that was against it. I didn't look at the Nets as the favorite. I look at the Nets still not as a favorite, and they blew the game against Charlotte. Kevin Durant and them came back. That's the type of game where you have Kyrie and Kevin Durant. You should be able to take and steal that game, but they failed. Kevin Durant missed a shot and that was basically over. I watched the Washington game, and the same thing happened. Kyrie creates the space, gets a good look that was clean. He misses it. They get a tap out. Kevin Durant gets the ball, has time to dribble. He gets his dribble, gets to the spot that he wants, and he clanks it, and that's it. And now they're 3 and 4. And the fact that these guys have had nagging injuries. And that was my biggest problem with the team. They depend so much on Kyrie and Kevin Durant to do so much and create so much, especially since Dinwiddie is now injured for basically the rest of the season. That's one less creator, one less scorer, one less guy that can get you a bucket that you don't have at all. And there's no replacement for him because he's gone for the whole season. You know, guys can step up, guys can play better, but you're not replacing Dinwiddie as he's not going to be able to play at all. And then you look at Karras. He has been struggling to me offensively, and he hasn't really been able to find his groove, and he's still struggling from three, which has been his biggest Achilles heel, and that's why I wasn't high on Karras on this team just because he can't shoot threes. And Spencer Dinwiddie is an inconsistent three-point shooter too. And Joe Harris, the threes just haven't been falling for him either. Even though he can knock them down every once in a while, you want him out there because he is dangerous, especially with space. But a lot of teams are living with it, or a lot of teams are staying by him, and he really doesn't do much when it comes to creation of a shot or a pass, unless he's just doing a hockey assist by moving the ball. And then you look at DeAndre Jordan and Jared Allen. Those guys are just going to score in certain situations. If they're not in those situations, they're not going to be able to score because they don't space the floor, they don't shoot, and they're not great free throw shooters. Jared Allen is decent, but he's not going to kill you if you foul him a lot. And if he's not really floating or dunking, he's basically, non-existent either. So this team has really just been struggling to me on both ends of the court. Every game that they're basically playing is going into the high hundreds. They're not really getting consistent stops. They're not locking down on any position. And that was my fear of looking at them as a championship team. If you're going to rely on Kyrie Irving, who has missed the entire finals, who has missed playoffs before with my Celtics, and you need him to stay healthy because he's just that important, because the only other star you got is Kevin Durant now that Dinwiddie is gone. And now it puts more pressure on Kyrie Irving to stay healthy, which he just hasn't been able to do since his rookie season to now. And that makes it even tougher to win a title when you have a guy that has that type of history and that type of reputation. But the Nets are still going to be dangerous because Kyrie and Kevin Durant can score whenever they want to, and once their jump shots is falling, there's not much you can do. One of my biggest fears for this team was the your turn, my turn play, and they still do it. Kyrie Irving, whenever he feels like he wants to take a shot or do something, he does it. And same with Kevin Durant, you don't whine about it because they are superstars. These guys have earned that green light to be able to take the ball in their hands and, do whatever they need to do, whether it's making a play or making a shot. But I think that a lot of the mistakes they're making now early, these should be correctable. They should be able to find a way to get better leads. They should be able to find a way to get on the same page on both ends of the court. That's why I didn't look at the Nets as a championship team this season, because I still do feel like they're a piece away now, especially because Dinwiddie is gone. And the fact that I feel like defensively they're not great and offensively they're not great enough to really be a team that can win you a title. And if you're not going to be able to defend at a high level, you're going to have to compensate that with being an electrifying offensive team. But they have struggles because a lot of their guys are skill set guys, like the Allens, the Joe Harrises, and the DeAndre Jordan and Lualu is not even a quality NBA starter to me in this league, and that's who their starting shooting guard is. And Prince is more of a skill set player. And you look at the rest of the roster, that's basically what everybody else is. So they're in a tough situation where they have pieces that they can move, but the pieces that they would get, they will have to give up multiple of those pieces to fill a certain hole. And once they do that, they lose depth at another position, especially because Dinwiddie is gone. So I look at the Nets as a team that can be dangerous next year, as Kyrie and Kevin Durant will have that whole year um, to grow together, to learn from each other, to play off of each other, and get the experience. And then they get that next piece, and that should be able to put them over the top to be more competitive on both ends of the court or more in one direction, and that should allow them to be able to compete. But the East is at the top. A lot of those teams are dangerous. A lot of those teams do give the Nets to me a matchup problem because you have the Bams and you have the Jimmys and the Giannis and the Middletons and the Tatums and the Browns, especially when Kimba's get back. And I feel like a lot of those teams are more well rounded than the Nets are right now, and they have more chemistry and they have better coaching, in my personal opinion, just for this season. And those things should iron themselves out because they have 2 more years left for Kyrie and Kevin Durant, and they can also extend. But they have too many things going against them right now to literally be considered a contender. And it's kind of shocking that you see in games where Kyrie and Kevin Durant should be able to take over and just ride them home like they usually do, but they rely so much on the jump shot that if their jump shots are not going in, you literally will live with it. And they always tell you, we will live with a long contested two. We will live with a contested three. Even if these guys can make them, even if these guys have a history of making them, you have to give up something in the league. I have to give up something. If we can make them take tough contested jumpers, and if they're hitting them, we're just going to lose. If they're not, we have a chance. And that's how the Nets have been losing. They can't get consistent stops, and they can't consistently blow teams out. And that leaves you in the middle of the pack. And that's why I looked at the Nets as a team that's going to be within the top five, but I didn't look at the team being number one. Even though you look at the team last year, when they had Kyrie Irving, this team was barely 500 or below the whole season that he played, even though he was averaging a career high in points. And then they went to the bubble and they got swept by the Raptors without even having a superstar. And that's the team that they had last year, and they added Kevin Durant, who is still working out his kinks, still getting his assist game going. His rebound game is now going, and they're utilizing him in a lot more different ways than they did at the start of the season. So I think the growing pains and learning each other, growing together, and making another move is what's going to possibly increase this team in the future. And as they currently constructed, I can name 3 to 4 teams that I feel is literally better than them as a complete team, not as a duo. And if that's the case, the Nets, are in the middle. They're if things go right, they can win it and get to the East. If things be competitive and they can't make shots, for especially jumpers, then they're beatable. And it's a lot of teams that can switch and guard these guys and make things tough, or just allow them to guard them one on one and just let the other guys, stay by them and live with the result. So one of the biggest problems with the Nets is when the games slow down, and that's what they have been faltering in these games that they lost. When the game slow down, it's your turn, my turn. Let KD do his thing. Let Kyrie do his thing. And if that jumper isn't falling, they're human. If the jump shot is falling, they're gods. But that's the hardest part about the game is you will live with that if you're an opposing team. So right now, I'm not going to make a big deal about it. You're going to win some games. You're going to lose some games. They're integrating 2 other stars within this team. They got a new coach. They got a new coaching staff. And they got guys in and out. So once they start getting that consistent rhythm and that consistent groove, they should be able to position themselves in the top of the East, whether it's fourth or fifth. And I had them finishing fourth um, at the end of the day. That's good for a first year together. But I still look at this team as missing something, an extra push, an extra umph, or just an extra guy that can just take over games with Kyrie and Kevin Durant. They're not there yet, but they not far enough to where I'm concerned. But like I said, if these guys really do just say, "I want this," they can take you home. But sometimes those shots gonna fall. Sometimes they're not, and that's why they ended up being 3-4 right now. Besides that, they ended up not even playing the Memphis game, and still ended up losing that, even though they didn't have John Moran or Jaren Jackson Jr. That don't look good either for the Nets, in my personal opinion. So let me know, is I'm right, is I'm wrong, is I'm crazy, is I'm being fair for what we done seen in preseason and now. And do you think this team can be a championship contender at the end of the season? Do you think they can be there with another trade, or do you think that they're just gonna be decent this whole year and be a second or first round exit, depending on who they face and what matchups they face in the playoffs? Regardless of what you think, let me know in the comment section below. Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis. I'm signing out. If you want to buy merchandise, my spread shirt is in the comment section in the description. You can also message me and customize your hats and your shirts on Facebook. Also, made over 2,000 videos, whether it's breakdowns of players, legends, rookies, summer league coverage, draft coverage, playoff prediction, top 10 list and season previews, whether it's the hottest topic discussions or even just keeping it real, just like this video. But regardless, check those out. If you like this, you'll like those. And Quinn Wade, Basketball Analysis signing out. Enjoy the rest of y'all weekend. And what's up with them Nets?